But let me start with this money-grubbing pig. I mean, this orange was in the White House for 4 years, arguably because his good friends in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Russia helped put him there, along with his good friends, the other billionaires in America, has decided on September 11th that rather than having a respectful version of November 11, he's going to charge people $50 to hear him call the fight between Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. I may be mispronouncing that. I don't follow boxing. But say that again?
Vitor Belfort.
Vitor Belfort. Thank you, Nate. And his little boy, Donnie Jr., he's going to be helping, he's to call this thing. Really? I mean, is this because Donald Trump, after 9/11 TV and lied about 9/11, saying that he had seen on TV Muslims celebrating in the streets in New Jersey? No, that never happened. He lied through his teeth about it. He repeated that lie probably dozens, maybe hundreds of times at various rallies and in other venues. That he lied that he went down to 9/11 to see if he could help out. He didn't. That he lied that he sent people from the Trump organization down to the Twin Towers after they crashed to help clean up. He didn't. Is that why he's not doing this? Or is it a good thing for America and for all of us, frankly, that this money-grubbing pig is going to be kind of out of our sight because most of America is going to be paying attention to 9/11. And yeah, I get it. There's a few boxing fans out there, people who like to see a human being injure another human being in a way that may kill them or destroy their lives permanently with traumatic brain injury. I get that. But I think most of America is not there anymore. I know boxing was popular like 100 years ago when we had no idea how much damage being hit in the head does to you. When we didn't know about all these football players who have committed suicide or for that matter, soul. I mean, we were wondering why so many Vietnam vets were homeless and dying early and committing suicide. Why is it that we have over 20 vets every single day who commit suicide in the United States? Turns out one of the bigger pieces of it is traumatic brain injury, which is, just think about this for a minute. When I was a kid, there were these shows on TV where the private detective or the good guy, if he wanted to take out the bad guy, instead of pulling out a giant machine gun and killing him, he'd hit him over the head with a sap, right? With a sock full of nickels or rocks or BBs or whatever, something hard, and knock them unconscious. Well, now we know that if you get hit in the head hard enough to be knocked unconscious, and you don't get really quick treatment for it, you can have what's called a traumatic brain injury, which can produce for the rest of your life clinical depression, suicidal depression, in addition to other disordered forms of thinking. So that's what Donald Trump is going to be doing on 9/11, and I just think this is crazy. Frankly, and I know CNN is going to have a special tonight about 9/11, I believe. No, it's MSNBC is going to have it. Well, everybody's going to have specials on 9/11. I mean, today is the 8th, 9/11. What I'm going to be looking for on the specials is, are any of them going to point out, as Sandy Berger pointed out on this program back in 2003, and we should, sadly, my archives, I have never been one of those well-organized people who keeps track of everything. So I have no idea where this archive is. But I would love to find it and play it again for you. But Sandy Berger, who was Bill Clinton's national security advisor, came on this program, and he told us just straight up that when the presidential transition was happening from George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Condoleezza Rice to Bill Clinton, let me start over. that when the presidential transition was happening from Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and Sandy Berger to George W. Bush, Don Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, and Condoleezza Rice, that he explicitly told Condoleezza Rice, his, the person who was taking his job, that Osama bin Laden was planning to attack America, that he was seriously pissed off about our still having American soldiers on a Saudi Air Force base. And he knew, he had personal knowledge that Al Gore had told Dick Cheney the same thing, and that Bill Clinton had told George W. Bush the same thing. He got it. He knew it. And Bush said, okay, Dick Cheney, I'm putting you in charge of this 9/11 security. I mean, it wasn't 9/11 then, but I'll put you in charge of this Osama bin Laden thing. The Democrats are all hysterical about Clinton says he's going to attack us. He actually had attacked us several times. He blew up a couple of our ships, the USS Cole, and there was another one. So he put Dick Cheney in charge of that, and Dick Cheney had two jobs that George W. Bush put him in charge of. That was one, counterterrorism, do something about bin Laden. And number two was how to invade Iraq and how we're going to split up the oil fields and which American companies are going to get which oil fields and which ones we're going to sell off to foreigners when we take control of Iraq. Cheney's Iraq task force met multiple times. They drew up these elaborate maps. Larry Klayman, the right-wing head of Judicial Watch, sued under the Freedom of Information Act, got those maps and published them. And that's what Cheney was doing from January 20th of 2001 until 9/11. He had one meeting in, a couple of weeks before 9/11 of his terrorism task force, and as far as we can all tell, they had some coffee and ate some donuts. But they did nothing. Is that going to be discussed? Is it going to be discussed that the planning for 9/11 was done in Germany and in Florida and in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan? Sure, Osama bin Laden paid for it, and he was living in Afghanistan. And yeah, he did have a training camp in Afghanistan, but it was like it was like these guys in Midwestern states who go out in the woods and shoot up trees, practicing, in their camo guard. I mean, it had nothing to do with 9/11. None of those people went through 9/11. In fact, the 19 people who participated in 9/11, 7 of them were engineers. I mean, like mechanical engineers, like, college degree engineers. So, yeah, they knew how to take down a building with an airplane. 15 of them were Saudis. One was an Egyptian, one was a Lebanese, 2 were from the United Arab Emirates. None of them were from Afghanistan or Iraq. Is any of that going to be discussed in these commemoratives? What are you looking for in this? What lesson do you think America needs to learn from 9/11? Other than that on the anniversary, the 20th anniversary of it, our former president. Can you imagine if Obama was calling a boxing match? Just think about that for a minute. President Obama is going to call a boxing match on 9/11 instead of going and laying a wreath. Can you imagine the freak out?